Hello, my YouTube family. This is the OG Crypto Newjack coming at you with some juicy news. But before I begin, let me say I'm not a financial advisor. Anything you see or hear in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. Remember to do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions. We're going to start today looking at the total crypto market. Cap is at 1.23 trillion, is up 1.1%. Coming in at number one is Bitcoin at 30,367. Coming in at number two is Ethereum at 1,923. And our beloved XRP is coming in at number 6 at 47 cents. Taking a look at crypto bubbles, looks like eCash is the top gainer at plus 56.6%. And the crypto fear and greed index is in greed at 56. Here we have, shout out to Riz. We are proud to announce our Chief Legal Officer, Stuart Alderoty, has been honored as a 2023 Burton Awards Legends in Law winner, and that is very well deserved. Congratulations to you, sir. And speaking of Stuart Alderoty, he put out a tweet in response to Jake Chavinsky's tweet, and he wrote, "This is a must-read from the Blockchain Association. Chair Gensler's statements have legal consequences, and the commission should be held to account." And that was in response to what Jake put out. And Jake said, SEC Chair Gary Gensler has wrongly prejudged that all digital assets are securities. As a result, federal law requires that he recuse himself from all enforcement decisions related to digital assets. That's what he is supposed to do, but clearly has not done. And hopefully Congress can hold his feet to the fire. Speaking of Congress, here is Patrick McHenry. And he also put out a tweet in response to the Financial Services GOP tweet, where it says, Chairman Patrick McHenry, Judiciary GOP Chairman Jim Jordan, and the GOP Oversight Chairman Rep. James Comer sent a follow-up letter to SEC Chair Gary Gensler slamming the agency for skirting record-keeping and transparency laws. And that's good to see that they're finally holding Gary Gensler's feet to the fire. And shout out to the crypto meme guy. It looks like Gary Gensler is losing all kinds of connections and friends, and it's only going to get worse. Crypto meme guy put out Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren burned on Bloomberg by Anthony Scaramucci, and Promethean mentions having ties to communist China. Let me play the video.
Well, I think the fraud from Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, I think, has swung the pendulum in Washington too far into the over-regulation, persecution, and prosecution business. And I think Gary Gensler's probably overreached in that capacity at this point now. And this whole Promethean thing, I don't know if you're following that, but he approved this broker-dealer that has ties to the Communist Chinese Party, the Chinese Communist Party. So I don't know, I think he's overplayed his hand. It's sort of like him and Elizabeth Warren are riding around as Batman and Robin in the old Ghostbusters car. You know, you got the Bitcoin logo on the side of the car with that sort of red line through it. And so I don't think the United States needs to be going in that direction. They should go in the direction that you guys have gone here in Canada, which is a propitious regulation, fair regulation. The Canadian politicians and your regulators realize that there's going to be a home and a space for digital assets and digital property. And so I think they're fairly regulating it here. I think the U.S. can learn something from that.
And they sure can. And that's a nice little picture of Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren, his puppet master. Okay, moving on. Warren Davidson, this congressman, put out, it's time to fire Gary Gensler and restructure the SEC. Of course, I agree with that 100%, but realistically, we're not going to fire him because even if we're lucky enough to get that through both the House and the Senate, President Biden is going to veto it. I think there'll be a lot more pressure put on the SEC and the higher-ups within the government and in the SEC if they cut off the funding, and then they will probably pressure Gary to gracefully resign because there's no more funds coming into the SEC. And I think that would have a bigger impact than passing a law that we all know at the end of the day is going to get vetoed when it gets to the president's desk, if it even gets that far. Okay, moving on. Shout out to XRP Crow. We put a quote from, I believe, David Schwartz when it was it 6 years ago, 2017? But it never gets old. He puts out, XRP is like gold that can instantly teleport around the world. David Schwartz, CTO from Ripple. I believe that was a quote from 2017. Okay, shout out to Anders. He put this thing out. I got to give it to the president of Kenya, President RUTO. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I got to give him up. He has some moxie, I'll tell you that, because he wasn't afraid to tell what was on his mind. Let me play the video.
We need a financial transaction tax at a global level where even countries like Kenya pay. We do not want anything for free. You will pay more eventually because you have a bigger economy. We will pay commensurate to our economy. And we want those resources controlled, not by IMF and World Bank. Because IMF and World Bank, you have the final say. We don't have no say. We want another organization of equals, where you have as much say because you pay, as much as we do because we also pay. That's the organization we are looking for. And that is why we are saying we need a new financial architecture, where governance, where power is not on the hands of a few people. We can agree on the governance of the institution. We can agree on the sharing of power so that all of us have access to resources that go to making sure, number one, renewable energy. We invest in decarbonization. Number two, adaptation, mitigation, smart agriculture. Number three, restoring our planet, restoring our biodiversity, and making sure our carbon sinks work. This is what we are saying, and we would appreciate a little understanding. We want to be, we are talking the normal. If we continue talking the normal, Emmanuel, we will never solve this problem. Things are not going forward, they're going backwards. Tokenism, installment will not solve this problem. We have a much bigger problem than the installment we are discussing here will solve. You're not hearing us.
Well, I got to give it to him. I do agree with everything he said. He is not wrong. He wants basically a level playing field, which is what everybody wants, is a level playing field. And I know that President Macron and Kristalina Georgieva, they were smiling, but deep down inside, they were very uncomfortable with this conversation. And this guy had the moxie to say that to their face. So congratulations to him and Godspeed, because you know how this thing go. Okay, moving on. Watch Your Guru put this out. Just in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis says he will abolish the IRS if elected president in 2024. Even though I agree with that, because the IRS basically has become like the second weaponry arm of the government, like the SEC. The IRS is basically the SEC's double, where they go out and attack on the incumbents' behalf. So if that's the case, I hope he can do it, but doesn't seem realistic to me. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Weezy. He put this thing out, you sell, whales buy, simple as that. He's citing an article that says that whales bought 360 million XRP amid the recent 12% price drop. So maybe they know something that we don't, but I think we do. Okay, moving on. COINBASE'S put this thing out. Bank of America says tokenization could transform financial and non-financial infrastructure and financial markets over the next 5 to 15 years. Implementation of blockchain technology will accelerate as the opportunity cost of uncaptured efficiencies increases, the report said. And we already know Bank of America is a Ripple partner, and they are just chomping at the bit, waiting for this case to come to an end so they can start using Ripple's ODL. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Subjective Views. They put this video out. Susan Friedman, head of policy at Ripple, comments on wider implications of digital currencies. Let me play the video.
I think on a global scale.
Yeah, me too. And obviously we've got CBDCs and we've got other new forms of money like stable coins and, cryptocurrencies more broadly. How do you think that's changing the way we transact, and what are sort of the wider implications of a digital currency?
We see digital cryptocurrencies, central bank digital currencies, as encouraging a number of different initiatives, including financial inclusion. We think digital money will help to increase access to financial services for under and unbanked populations, and also encourage, or I should say enhance direct person-to-person payments. We think that the initiatives will help to enhance existing payment infrastructures. Digital currencies can help increase the speed and efficiency of payments. We think that the initiatives generally will help to foster innovation. So using digital features like smart contracts and programmable money will be the basis of new financial services. We also think there's an opportunity for digital currencies to help reduce energy use and environmental resources by presumably phasing out the printing of paper money and the minting of coins. So we think that there are we see a lot of different threads being fostered by the development of digital currencies. At the same time, we recognize that central banks are really grappling with how to encourage these while also maintaining financial stability and control of their monetary systems. And this comes back to, as different countries work on different initiatives, ensuring that we're not building walled gardens, that there's interoperability between currencies, that currencies can flow freely between countries and do so in a way that allows, that maintains financial stability will really be, at the heart of the challenge ahead for all countries considering CBDC, I think, on a.
And there you go. Very good news, bullish news. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Chad Steingraber. He put out there 3 ways FIs on board connect to FedNow, and this is what is important for Volante, ACI, Worldwide, Finastra, CGI, and others. Every one of these are fully integrated with the RippleNet and the cloud solutions. They can source XRP on demand. And that is bullish news. And he also put this thing out. 15th of September 2021, MoneyGram pan for using XRP in cross-border payments. And you thought it was just a test, right? And here's the pan he's talking about. And it looks like the deal is not a dead deal because it has a date of January 31st right here of 2023. So apparently, I believe MoneyGram is also getting ready to jump on board. Okay. Shout out to Chad Steingraber again. You all know all those hundreds of financial partners Ripple talked about for years. Y'all about to find out, and I think we are, because when this case comes to an end, all those NDAs are coming to an end, and we're gonna see the tsunami of partners and banks and central banks and remittance payments partners that are gonna jump on board now that the case was or comes to an end. Okay, moving on. Shout out to XRPville. Sounds like a Ripple playbook, but a USDC fiat coin way of solving frictionless cross-border payments at the World Economic Forum. Let me play the video.
We'll move to a world where we don't think about, say, sending a cross-border email. We won't think about sending a cross-border payment. It will be instant, global, frictionless, per the title of the session and the panel, and interoperable in the same way we have that with the web of information and communications. And so I'm really very focused on how do we build these kind of open internet infrastructures that connect the world economically in the same way that we've been connected with information. And so that's what I think of when I think of paying frictionless.
That's great. That's very interesting.
When I look at payments today, in many ways, payments are still trapped in a pre-internet era. Even though we use mobile payment applications, a lot of those are kind of their own walled gardens. You can pay someone who has WeChat, or you can pay someone who has Venmo in the United States, or if you're in a given country, there's a bank network. We don't actually have, at least quite yet, an internet scale model for moving value, for storing and moving value. And so really the opportunity that we saw 10 years ago when we founded Circle was this idea that we were going to see a new infrastructure layer on the internet where value itself could be a native part of the internet. Just like we have data and information and communications, we could actually have a native part. And in that world, which today is, I think, best expressed through things like stablecoins, which are a representation of fiat currency as digital currency.
Yep, I agree with everything he said. And of course, that sounds just like something that Brad Garlinghouse has been saying for years. Okay, moving on. Shout out to Mr. Man. He put the language is a bit off. However, the message that they're relaying regarding Ripple, Bank of England, Federal Reserve, Saudi Arabia Monetary Authority is fantastic. And this is what he's talking about, highlighted here in yellow. Even central banks like the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve, and the Saudi Arabia Monetary Authority had collaboration with Ripple connected to a domestic payments updating. And of course, Ripple is all over those things. Okay, shout out to Peter Voss. He put out central banks propose CBDC stablecoin standards with Amazon, Brad running trials. Here it says here the Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS, in collaboration with the IMF and other central banks. And this is very important because, as we all know, Ripple was just granted the license from the Monetary Authority of Singapore, so you know that they are all over this as well. Nothing but bullish and good news for Ripple, the company. And shout out to Michael Markets. He put this out. I might have to buy some coin. And the reasons he cited was max FUD, stock is cheap, price action equals capitulation, a strong legal case, the SEC nuclear competition, BlackRock ETF custody, and Circle USDC relationship. And you know what? This is not financial advice, but you know what? It might be something to look at because I kind of agree with all those points that he made there. Okay, moving on. This is a tweet from John Dean in a response to the Meta Lawman. John Dean put out the other day, I said I've met great lawyers on Twitter and in crypto. Stuart Alderoty at Ripple defense team have been outstanding. And I am Paul Grohl and his Coinbase legal squad are also incredible. The Coinbase filings are a legal work of art. Crypto will win in the long game. And Meta Lawman, he kind of broke down the Coinbase response, and it's a very good thread. I'm going to read it. The lawyers for Coinbase have come out with an interesting opening move in the case. Warning, this is going to get complicated. Instead of filing a typical motion to dismiss under Rule 12b, Coinbase has informed the judge, Fela, that it intends to file a motion for judgment on the pleadings under Rule 12c. What's the difference? On a motion to dismiss, a judge may only consider the factual allegations in the complaint and any documents attached to or referenced in the complaint, nothing else. On a motion for the judgment on the pleadings, by contrast, a judge may consider other pleadings filed in the case, which would include the defendant's answer to the complaint. So back to Coinbase. Coinbase had a deadline of August 7th to file its response to the SEC's complaint. Instead of waiting until August, Coinbase filed a 177-page answer to the complaint last night, 40 days before the deadline. Coinbase included in its answer a lengthy preliminary statement spelling out its legal arguments for dismissal of the case. The answer is also loaded with links to a host of documents and transcripts to support Coinbase's argument, including, for example, the Bitcoin white paper, Coinbase's S1 registration statement, the transcript of Chairman Gary Gensler's May 6, 2021 congressional testimony, remarks from Hester Pierce, the transcript of the Binance TRO hearing, and even the famous Hinman emails. Whoa, these guys are not holding back, and they're coming back with fire at the SEC, and I'm very happy to see that. He continues, it is somewhat unusual to find all this material included in an answer. Typically, an answer just goes through each paragraph of complaint and admits or denies them and then lists affirmative defenses. Coinbase appears to be using this creative strategy to get documents helpful to its cause in front of the judge through the answer. A conference with the judge is set for July 13th to determine whether Coinbase will be permitted to proceed with this motion for judgment on the pleadings at this time. This is typically a formality, and permission is granted unless there is some very good reason offered by the other side. Here is Coinbase's letter to the court requesting permission to file the motion for the judgment on the pleadings and establish a briefing schedule for the motion. This is straight fire directed at the SEC, and I'm glad to see that. I'm glad that Coinbase is standing up for themselves, and I wish everybody in the crypto space who are good actors, I wish them well. Okay, fam, that's going to do it for today's video. If you found this video to be helpful, would you please smash a like and subscribe? I would really appreciate it, and it doesn't cost you anything. Thank you very much in advance. In the words of Snoop Dogg, keep your mind on your money and your money on your mind. Peace out, fam.